And now we're recording. I believe Janelle is taking the lead this evening. Hi, Janelle.
I guess I am, barely. Are you ready for me to get started?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I think we'll keep adding anyone that joins, but right now we have everyone that's a CAC member. Like, we can see their video, we're all good to go.
Okay. So we're going to call the meeting to order. It is 6:32. I almost used military time because that's what all my stuff is in. This meeting is being held pursuant to and in compliance with Emergency Ordinance number 20A16, an emergency ordinance to ensure the continuity of the government during COVID-19 disaster. The committee members are electronically present at this meeting, and we would go by, I guess I call roll, correct?
Yes, you can do it that way. That's perfect.
Yep, and so Tony?
Here, present.
Steve?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Karen?
Here.
Virginia?
Here.
Jimmy?
I see his audio is connecting, but so I see his face. I'm kind of saying
Okay.
here.
And I believe that is all of the CAC committee members. Okay. The persons responsible for receiving public comment are the Places29 North Committee Advisory Committee. The opportunities for the public to address and participate in the electronic meeting are posted on the Albemarle calendar. Please note the chat is disabled. If you send, hello? If you send something in the chat, this is sent to the meeting administrator. To ask a question or share comment, please use the raise hand feature to indicate you would like to speak. And then we will talk about the staff that we have with us. And Michaela, I hope I get this right. So Michaela?
You want me to help with that part?
Yeah, because I don't know if like Ashley or who else is considered
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah, so I'm Michaela Accardi. I'm with the county in the planning division. We have Mariah Gleason and Scott Clark here, also from the planning division. So those are the county staff that are present, as well as Carolyn Schaefer, who's helping us with the technology this evening.
Okay.
Disregard.
You all right, Jimmy? Can you hear us? You fine?
I'm working on it.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
All right.
Oh, go ahead. Stop talking about me now.
All right. So then next committee business is to adopt the meeting minutes. So did everyone receive and review the minutes from our last meeting?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. Any corrections?
I saw none.
Okay. I think if not, we get a motion to adopt the meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion, we adopt them. Steve Cameron here.
I second. Tony Panuco.
All right. Do I say all in favor?
Yeah, you can do that.
All right. Everyone, yay or nay as far as vote for the motion that was put in place?
Yes. Yay.
Yes.
who made the motion, please?
Steve and
I
Tony
made the
seconded
motion.
it.
We approve.
I got Tony. Thank you. This is Leo. Thank you.
Oh, Sue, did I miss you when I did roll call? I'm sorry.
I was not here. I had a repairman show up at 6:28.
Oh,
Yes.
He's quick.
No, I had to greet him and say goodbye.
All right. So the motion was carried and passed to accept the meeting minutes from last time. So it is now 6:37. Next on the agenda is a, do you say Monument U Park brief project overview by Steve Clark?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Clark. I'm a planner with the Community Development Department. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I don't often get to meet the CACs because I largely work on rural area projects. And I was asked to attend to give you a quick presentation on a special use permit application that falls in a slip of rural area between two development areas in your area of interest. So I'll try to get through that as quickly as I can to save your time and be happy to answer any questions. The application is SB 2020-02 Mon U Park. And this is a request to amend a previous special use permit for an athletic club. That club was approved originally with 4 soccer fields and 96 parking spaces. And the request is to increase the number of fields to 7, to extend the hours of operation, to remove the condition prohibiting games in July and August, to remove the existing condition prohibiting irrigation, and to remove the condition prohibiting games and practice sessions occurring on the same day as specified major events at the soccer facility further down Polo Grounds Road. So it's several changes to the details of a previously approved special use permit. The original permit was approved back in 2012. And again, that permits 4 soccer fields and 96 parking spaces. Outdoor lighting and amplified sound were prohibited. The current proposal is to increase that number of fields that can be in place on the site to 7. 4 would still be the limit for games at any one time. This is mainly to allow the operators to rotate fields, to have practice fields, and to be able to do their maintenance and occasionally rest a field that has been overused so that they can cycle between them. They are not proposing to increase the number of permitted parking spaces. The hours of operation, which are quite limited right now, 11 to 4, weekdays 11 to 6, on weekends would be changed to 8 a.m. to sunset daily. The seasonal limits on months of operation would be removed. There was a condition, again, that prohibited uses on certain event days at the soccer facility down the road. This original condition was written to include a section that said that would no longer apply if the planning director found that it was no longer necessary due to road improvements. There originally was a condition prohibiting irrigation of the facility, and the applicants requested to remove that prohibition. They have not requested to remove the prohibitions on lighting or outdoor amplified sound. There's a lot of details, so I'll be happy to go back over that if anybody missed out on that. This is the original conceptual plan that was approved for the use. Here's Route 29, Polo Grounds Road along the north edge, and of course South Fork Rivanna River on the south edge. And you can see originally there was the 96 space parking lot and 4 fields. Current proposal is to allow 7 fields, as I mentioned. Just to give you a rough idea, these fields would fall somewhere between 125 feet and 250 feet from the edge of the river. And the fields would all fit in the open grassy area and not require disturbance of the wooded areas on the site. So some of the issues we dealt with just in brief form, there was public concern about traffic impacts when this was first approved in 2010. And since that time, there's been a significant change to the capacity of Polo Grounds Road and its intersection with US 29, that we've added signalization, turn lanes in both directions. The westbound straight lane across to Ryle Mills was closed, and also Ryle Mills itself can no longer send traffic directly across to Polo Grounds. So we had this application reviewed by our transportation planning staff, and they found that the upgraded road and intersection capacity could handle the change in use, which is not overall greatly increased for Montague Park. Again, we're talking about more about season of use and hours of the day than we are about increasing the overall capacity of the site. The applicants requested removal of the prohibition on field irrigation. The applicants did a really good job on reaching out to the Department of Environmental Quality, which controls river water irrigation in the state. And we have recommended a condition requiring that if they do irrigate, they would need to follow the DEQ guidance. And one final issue was that because the site is located half a mile downstream of the South Fork Ravenna Reservoir, the Water and Sewer Authority has recommended posting of dam breach hazard signs on the site. And that addition is recommended as well. So in summary, favorable factors were the increased road capacity for the this and other uses on Polo Grounds and the US 29 intersection. The fact that the total number of games at any one time, which are the primary generators of traffic, would not change. And this use would be reversible, which is a concern in agricultural sites in the rural areas. The one possibly unfavorable factor, which was related to intensification of the use, was the increase in operating hours and the additional months allowed for the use. However, we felt that the fact that the level of possible use in the site was still capped by the parking capacity would mean that that possible unfavorable factor was fairly minimal. I'm not going to read you all of these conditions. I'll be happy to go back to any that you are interested in, but in general, all these changes were made to the original conditions for the proposal I described earlier. And what I mainly wanted to point out here was this item has been to its Planning Commission hearing, and the commission recommended approval with 3 additional conditions. One was requiring the use of eco-friendly pesticides and insecticides on the site, with language to be refined by staff before it goes to the board hearing. Second, that handicapped accessible portable toilets be required on the site. And third, they recommended that the permission for irrigation on the site be limited to a time period of 1 week after the application of seed on the site. Staff's recommendation on that final one is likely to change. Through our research, 1 week is not enough to establish the kind of grass that they typically use in this site, and we're probably going to recommend to the board that the Planning Commission's limit of 1 week be changed to 1 month in order to make sure that the applicants can water long enough to make sure that their seed actually germinates and gets established well enough to continue naturally. So that's an awful lot of details about one small permit, but the next step for this is that it will be going to the board for its final public hearing on August 4th with those amended conditions. And I realize I raced through a lot there. If you all have any questions, I'll be happy to go over them.
How do we raise our hand?
Okay, so I guess yep, I see. I didn't see what order things went in. I see Tony and I see Karen, and I had my hand raised as well. So Tony, if you want to go first. Oh, I was first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question was just a clarifying question, Scott, and making sure I heard you correctly. You're saying hours of operation currently are only 11 to 4, and it's all year except for July and August, and that you're trying to amend that to 8 to 6, and then allow July and August as well?
If you look at the old condition 2 here on the screen, which is now crossed out, previously they were limited for games and practice sessions to March, April, May, June, September, October, and November. And they did have those very limited hours of operation. So this proposal from the applicants would remove the limitation on those months of operation. It would allow them to operate year round. Now, obviously, December, January, February, there's not going to be very much going on the site, but it does allow them to have practice sessions in good weather and do maintenance work and things like that.
Oh, I was just trying to understand, like, is this geared towards school who's practicing and having games from 11 to 4 on the weekdays, or maybe I misunderstood?
Well, it's
What
not.
the
It's not for
limitation is what?
schools. It is not.
Okay.
It's not for schools, but it is a children's and teens league. So you're probably correct that most weeks, unless there's a holiday, there are not going to be a lot of activities 11 to 4 on a weekday. But the 8 to 6 gives them some more time to fit those activities in.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Who was next?
Tony.
Yeah.
Tony? Okay.
So Scott, the only question I have, I'm sure this was studied, but this would not be a problem of depletion of the river water, correct? If it's a month to germinate the seed, it's not going to be a problem, is it?
No, I don't believe so. Again, we're half a mile downstream of the South Fork Dam, and the Water and Sewer Authority has a plan in place to ensure minimum in-stream flows in the river. So even if you go by those, which in most cases are going to have a daily flow of 20 million gallons, in order to stay under the threshold for DEQ regulation, which is what they intend to do, the applicants can't take out more than 10,000 gallons per day. So 10,000 gallons a day, or probably less, compared to a minimum flow of 20 million gallons a day is not going to be a significant impact on the river.
Thank you.
And we have Karen, and I saw that Jimmy had his hand up.
I was just wondering, were there any speakers at the public hearing? And also, is this on the other side of the road from what will be Brook Hill? Does it border Brook Hill?
It is across from Brook Hill. I think, if I remember correctly, you had 2 speakers at the Planning Commission public hearing, possibly 3.
Were they concerned or supporting?
It was a mixed bag. There was some support and some concern about traffic levels. I do feel that the improvements that have occurred since 2010 on polo grounds have been so significant, and compared to improvements that were scaled for Brook Hill, certainly where there's going to be a lot more traffic generated than this small soccer use. This is one of the smaller generating sources on the road.
Do you also know if they've ever had any problem with parking on site, or does it seem that 96 spaces has been sufficient for their past operations?
I haven't heard anything either way from the applicants, but I do know that they came in from the beginning not asking to amend that number, so I would.
But that's not something you heard from the public, like that they were parking.
No, yeah, it wasn't the parking that was the issue. It was people were concerned about road capacity. Of course, if they increase the parking capacity, that would be an additional concern for the road. But
Okay.
I haven't heard anything either way on those.
And then Jimmy had his hand up, and I see Steve has his hand up now.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
As a member of the community who live on Prophet Road, are you telling me that all of the traffic is going to enter and exit from 29 and nobody's coming under the railroad tunnel to get to Prophet Road or to cross the one-lane bridge?
No, I don't think we can say that none of it will come that way. Anecdotally, from the applicants, most of their traffic tends to come through the 29 intersection onto Polo Grounds Road. They haven't done a formal traffic study that you might expect for a much more intense urban development, but my understanding from the applicants is that while they do get a little bit of traffic from the Prophet direction, it's a very small proportion of what they see coming in.
But you also realize that Brook Hill is just getting started. And plus there's another one in the works above that. Nobody seems to be explaining about the traffic that's coming under the railroad underpass.
Jimmy, I have a question. This is Sue.
Mm-hmm.
That one lane road bridge section, is there a plan, I hope, to make it 2 lanes at some point in the future, or is that the railroad's responsibility and we don't have any control over that?
I can answer that if I may. Bela Pisto Kirtley. Sue, the railroad, unfortunately, it's almost like it's a separate country.
Yeah.
We are not able to tell them anything. They can do whatever they want. They don't have to do anything if they don't want. It's like a separate country that goes back, I believe, to the late 1800s, early 1900s. Everything that was put in place when the railroads were put throughout the nation. But we have no control over that. It will, unless the railroad wants it, it will never be a 2-lane road. And actually, I have been in contact with Fred Gerke and all the residents in the Bentivar Polo Grounds Road area, asking them what if there's anything I can do regarding the railroad underpass. They used to have a light there, a signal, a temporary signal when they were doing some work on some of the roads. People were for and against that, the community that lives there, for and against that. I couldn't get a definitive answer. The mirror that is up there, that is actually, VDOT does not allow that anymore. So it might have been put in either by VDOT before the regulation changed, or a private person put it up there. But in any case, VDOT will not install any new mirrors. They don't do that anymore, or that's not part of their policy. So I'm at a standstill for finding out what the residents want, because I'm getting answers both ways. I'm getting emails pro and con to do something. People like it when you honk the horn before you go in. Others who live nearby don't like it. So that's where we are, Sue and Jimmy.
Well, it's interesting. Having heard all that, I would certainly come in 29 if there was any way I could.
Me too.
So Jimmy, maybe keeping traffic off of Prophet, because you've got the 1-lane bridge on Prophet, and then you've got the railroad tunnel on Polo Grounds. That's not a good route to travel.
And Steve,
Well, think about this. If you live in Brook Hill and you want to go to Richmond, are you going to drive all the way through town to get to the interstate? Or are you going Polo Grounds Road out to Prophet Road 20 and down 250?
Well,
So
I live in Forest Lakes, Jimmy. I don't go Prophet Road. No way.
Bless you, my child.
Yes.
And I will tell you, Jimmy, if I lived in Brook Hill, I would go straight down 29 and catch the 64.
Yep.
250 to 64 would be a lot faster
Yep.
and safer.
Absolutely.
Chris had his hand up, and then Virginia, and just helping you out, Janelle, but I think we might have to move on after this. We don't have any hands up from members of the public.
Okay.
Do we have anyone from this community that wanted to ask a question regarding this?
No one has their hand raised currently, so I don't believe so.
Kayla, I got my hand up from the committee.
Yes, Steve and Virginia, you can go ahead.
Hey, Scott, my question is really, I mean, Johnny come lately to the committee. My question is, who owns the property? And I know it's a low-lying area. So I guess my concern is with runoff coming from both Brook Hill and from the reservoir, is erosion going to be a problem in there? And if so, is that an issue for the county?
Well, the site is entirely in the floodplain of the South Fork of Vanna River. And so there's nothing that really can be built there. This has been a cornfield basically for a very long time. And it could return to that use. Really the only difference right now is that instead of corn or grass for hay, we've got a driveway, a gravel parking area, and a bunch of grass for soccer fields. So there's no real other permanent development that can happen on the site. You can't park cars overnight. They can't build buildings. It's a pretty minimal use in terms of what's on the site. I'm sorry, Steve, you're muted.
So I guess my concern was, being a low-lying area, does the county have any exposure should there be significant erosion to some new soccer field?
Well, it's a privately owned
Okay,
site.
all right. Very well.
It's owned by the Crockett Corporation. John's
That
probably
is-
got land in that area.
That answers it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
So my thing is, I don't think the issue here is more traffic. The issue is just the extended hours and the extended time. So, you know, I don't think it's going to affect that much on the traffic wise. And I'm all for giving, you know, kids and teens more access to the different fields, you know, in terms of practice and things like that. So I don't think it really impacts too much anything that hasn't already been approved.
Thanks.
We do.
And then
have
we-
one- I'm sorry. We
You know,
do-
you were about to say it, Fred.
Okay, you go ahead.
No, I'm on my phone, so I'm having to flip between a lot of things. But we had one community member, Fred, who wanted to say something.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Fred Gerke, president of the Prophet Community Association out here in Prophet. And this whole thing, you know, I've lived out here for 35 years, you know, and I've watched Prophet Road turn from a dirt track. Polo Grounds, when I moved out here, was a dirt road. I watched it paved, and VDOT said it couldn't get paved. It got paved. Our concerns are just with traffic. Monu is a good organization, does good things. There's no complaints about that. The objections with the original permit, which we commented on all those years ago, that's why those limits were in there, were about traffic concerns. You know, I personally consider traffic planning or engineering in this area kind of an oxymoron. I mean, we seem to be looking at this like, and the overwhelming majority of the traffic is going to go to 29. Fine, that's great. I mean, great. That's no issue. But it's that traffic that's going to come from Brook Hill, some of it from Monu, because basically what this is an increase in the use of the site is That's what it is. I mean, you're taking the limitations that were put there previously and doing away with them. Fine, this is a good thing. But we're just ignoring, we just keep doing all these things and dumping more cars and more people on the same road. Polo Grounds, Prophet Road were wagon tracks. They weren't meant for this type of traffic. And then you put them on 20, it's just, my gosh, you know. You know, and yeah, we are opposed to replacing the Prophet Railroad Bridge because, my God, it'd make Prophet Road an expressway. You know, I mean, geez, you know, is anybody paying any attention down there? You know, I mean, this is great and Brook Hill's great, but what are you going to do? I mean, you know, we put in these sidewalks and bike lanes and paths that go nowhere. I mean, you know, you have no choice. You live in Brook Hill, you're going to have to get in your car to go anywhere. And the same with mine. I mean, we just have to figure this out, you know, and that's the community's objection. It's, you know, and any of you who haven't done the underpass on Polo Grounds, you should try it sometime, just to have personal experience with it, because it isn't going to take that much more traffic to make that situation worse. And there is no, as Bee said, there is no magic solution to that. And it's a big, expensive project. It's a blind thing, you know, and we're just ignoring that in what you're doing here, you know. Okay, I've had my say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Any additional comments?
I'll just remind everybody that that board hearing is coming up on August 4th. So everybody's welcome, of course, to attend that meeting and make their interests and concerns known and help in the resolution of how this project goes.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you all for taking the time.
Thank you, Scott. All right. On the agenda is a update on the Maplewood community. And I think it's Mariah Gleason, and is it Ashley Davies and Scott Collins?
Yes, so I'm going to present my screen real quick and open this up. Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Mariah Gleason. I'm a senior planner too with Albemarle County and the lead staff reviewer for this project proposal. Tonight we're holding in with your meeting a virtual community meeting for this project. So community meetings as they relate to rezoning proposals is a way to share information about the proposed project, the development review process, and relevant policies and regulations. It's also a way for the county and applicant to solicit public input on the proposed project. A summary of this input is included in the staff report that's reviewed by the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors as they consider the proposal. Community meetings are often held in conjunction with the regularly scheduled meetings of the Community Advisory Committee, or CAC, for the master plan area where the project is located. The proposed project in this case is located at the corner of Prophet Road and Worth Crossing and falls within the Places 29 North CAC area, shown here in this map in orange. This area is also in the, sorry if my voice isn't coming through. If it cut out, what I basically did in the first couple sentences was explain why we're having this community meeting and that we often have community meetings for rezonings as part of the regularly scheduled CAC meeting. For the most part, I'm reading the text on the slide. So if I continue to cut in and out, just reference the text on the slide and we'll get through. I know we're a little behind in the agenda, so I'm actually going to abbreviate these sections a bit, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to go back. What I basically wanted to do in this portion of the presentation was kind of go over some terminology, just to acknowledge that this is a rezoning proposal. It's a ZMA. It's a ZMA 2021-0006 Maplewood. And so with a rezoning, there are a couple of terms that are helpful to know. Zoning is one of them. So a zoning basically defines in cities and counties what the property owner can do by right on their property. It informs where they can build, what they can build. So basically the use of the building that includes residential, commercial, institutional. It also informs the size and the shape of buildings. So if you think of building height and how far it's set back from the street or square footage, that's what zoning does. And again, it informs what can be done by right today. Whereas the comprehensive plan is a little different. That actually is more of a 20-year vision document for how places should be looking to develop. It has overarching policies and recommendations that kind of guide development, if you will, and that's created by extensive engagement with community members. And then it's adopted by the Board of Supervisors into what's called master plans or small area plans. Our comprehensive plan is a compilation of all of the master plans, small area plans, and rural areas for our county. So I'm going to skip this slide. But the point here is that sometimes the current zoning and the future land use designation don't line up. This is actually kind of one of those cases where they're looking at changing the zoning to be more in line with the comprehensive plan. There are some caveats in there, but as you can see, looking at the zoning map for the county and the land use map for the county, there are some differentiations in color, and you can kind of see that difference. So rezoning applications are classified as a legislative review, which just means that the project has to be approved by the Board of Supervisors. It also means that these applications have a higher level of review. So this application is going to be reviewed by county staff and other agencies as is applicable. That includes VDOT, the Service Authority. It's also reviewed by the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors at public hearings. In terms of what we are looking for in the review of this application, we're looking for consistency with the area's future land use designation, which is in that comprehensive plan, state and local authority standards and regulations. And also, since this particular parcel is in the entrance corridor, the Architecture Review Board will also be weighing in on this proposal. Next, I'm going to briefly share some high-level aspects of the proposal. The applicant is going to follow up with more specifics, but just as a broad brush, the request here is to rezone an approximately 3.41 acre property identified as tax map parcel 46B4-4 from its current zoning of C1 commercial to a new zoning of planned residential development, or PRD. To allow the development of up to 102 residential units for a gross residential density of 30 dwelling units per acre. In terms of where this is locally, I'm sorry that I didn't do this before, but if you can see my cursor, this is at, if this is 29 and Airport Road, it's about a couple hundred feet from that major intersection. And then this is Prophet Road and Worth Crossing is here. So it's that vacant parcel that is right behind Walgreens and AutoZone. Okay. Other notable site factors, like I said, it is in the entrance corridor overlay district. Other overlay districts that will apply to this and have some regulations behind it are the airport impact area, as well as there are some managed steep slopes on the property. So in terms of where this fits into the future vision for this area, this parcel resides in the Hollymead community area neighborhood of the Places 29 master plan. The recommended uses on this parcel are, it's called urban mixed use in centers. So it's that pink with a white hatching over it. In the community center, the vision is for this area to be a balanced mix of commercial, retail, employment uses with residential uses as well. In terms of the timeline of this proposal, staff provided comments to the applicant on June 7th. And then in terms of the Planning Commission public hearing and the public hearing with the Board of Supervisors, no dates are set for that. I'd like to just say at this point that once those public hearings are set, of course, we would love to hear your feedback now and input, but those are future meetings that you could also provide input on and attend. There's usually a public comment period following staff's presentation, the applicant's presentation. So there are more opportunities to weigh in on this proposal. Again, no dates have been set, but the Planning Commission date would not be later than August 3rd unless the applicant chooses to defer the project, in which case, if they do not defer, then the Board of Supervisors public hearing would probably be no later than May 5th, 2022. So tonight, if you would like to provide comments, we'll be wrapping that. That would be great. I will take notes. And again, it will be put into a summary of public comments for this project. If you wish to provide comments after this meeting, I would just ask that you send comments to me by Thursday, June 17th, which is 1 week from tonight. And my email is provided below. And I can also get that to you in another form, but I'm gonna go ahead and transition it over to Ashley Davies with the applicant so that she can share a little more information. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I know I went through that presentation very quickly. So if we'd like to go back and discuss things, happy to do so. Ashley, would you like to take it?
Hi, is it okay to share my screen? You'll see that?
Yes.
All right, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Davies with Riverbend Development, and you'll notice that I am on location in the Hollymead area tonight. I'm actually going to be attending a concert at Chisholm Vineyard later tonight, so got a beautiful setting in the general vicinity of our project. But this is our application plan that went in with our rezoning request, and Mariah did a great job of setting up the background of the request that we're making and how it ties into the overall Places 29 master plan, and specifically the Hollymead area. So this property, as she mentioned, it's on the corner of Prophet Road and Worth Crossing. It's about 3.5 acres. And the rest of the property within the comprehensive plan community center is all zoned commercial. So we are requesting rezoning to planned residential to allow for residential densities. Mariah mentioned up to around 100 units per acre. We've got some layouts now. It's probably going to land somewhere closer to about 74 units total. So kind of a nice sweet spot in between. The lowest density you can do here is about 15 units per acre. The highest density is around 34 units per acre. So we're right around 22 units per acre with what we're proposing. And we think it's a nice complementary use to the other commercial uses in the area. And we imagine sometime in the future, the rest of this area will probably see some redevelopment. But that is, I guess, mainly what I want to share, and basically just here for whatever questions or discussion you have about our proposal. Thank you.
All right, Tony, you has his hand raised.
Okay.
If you're proposing 74 units, I'm assuming these are apartments?
So the units that we are looking at currently they're called a 2/2. So they're a new unit type that is basically townhouse units, but they have 2 units per townhouse. So it's a 4-story unit. You've got parking on the bottom, and then one of the levels is 1 unit, and then you have a 2-level unit. So it's a nice product type because it allows for a variety of unit sizes on the lot, but they can also be sold or rented. So the whole site could be a condo regime, and each unit can be sold separately. We also have proffers that we would provide affordability that's in compliance with what Albemarle County is striving to achieve. So there would be kind of a combination of affordable units, and then each townhouse unit has 2 sizes of units and one townhouse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so we're talking about a 2-bedroom condo on below a 3-bedroom, like what is at Brook Hill now?
Yes, there are some 2/2 units proposed at Brook Hill. That's right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I don't see any other hand raised. Okay. Oh, there goes Karen.
Yeah, thanks. I was wondering, I realize this is a first submission, but is there going to be any more detail? Looking at this application plan really doesn't provide much information. And I think I know you didn't mean 100 units to the acre. You said that.
Sorry, 100 units total.
100 units total. Yeah, I have a general question from staff. We're getting a number of proposals now that are in the upper ranges of some of what is that in the comprehensive plan proposed for 6 to 34 units to the acre. This particular parcel, because of its existing zoning, if I understand it, could already have by a special permit 15 units to the acre. So I'm curious, and this is not for tonight, but just for general purposes for later. I'm sure that you guys have a quick way of sorting to see what other applications or approvals there have been for things approaching this density. Anyway, just to get some sense. And then I did want to ask about your entrances. This, I know we talked a little bit about Prophet Road today. That particular intersection has very poor sight distance if you're turning right to go to Prophet Road, left. It's not a signalized intersection, and I have not had a chance to read the staff comments. But my question is there any reason for that second entrance onto Worth Crossing? Is there any thought of making a connection? I know that you probably don't want to make a connection to the rear of Walgreens, but they're already, I guess that's a commercial entrance, so that could be problematic. But if you're going to connect out toward the shopping center, I'm really wondering, is there any reason from a fire and rescue standpoint you need that other entrance? Because I I don't think that that's gonna make that intersection any safer, and it is a little bit problematic. I was also curious about the affordable housing, the proffer language you've submitted. And this is a question I had for staff before. Some of these things seem to come in on the plans, and some seem to come in as written as proffers, standalone proffers. This one, the first sentence about affordable housing says it may, and I didn't know if that was just an oversight. The for sale, the owner may meet the affordable housing requirement. And I didn't know when your percentages might come in, because and again, I didn't have a lot of time to look at this. I didn't see the percentage of affordable housing. I think you mentioned try to the county standard, which I think would be 15, soon coming to 20%. And the last question or two for staff. This is subject to the ARB, even though it's one parcel back, and also the airport overlay. Does that address noise in residentially zoned areas or commercial areas at all? Or is that strictly what I'm not familiar with Albemarle County's airport overlay. Does a lot of questions. So those were my thoughts.
I'll try to answer them in turn. And Ashley, if there's more information you want to provide, feel free to tack on. In terms of proposals coming in at higher level densities, yes, we have had several lately come in that are in this area. I think it's a combination of where is the availability and the desire to build from the development community. And then, and if you're looking for numbers, we can, I think that's probably a more general maybe research question that I probably can't answer tonight.
Yeah.
And then in terms of entrances, fire rescue is required based on the number of units that this needs to have at least 2 emergency exits in it. So that is, and we have in our site planning ordinance a requirement to provide interparcel connections. So that's kind of driving the reason why it's connecting through to other parcels. There is a stub out that exists on the wall, on the back of the Walgreens parcel. Looking at it, staff's opinion was that the stronger connection would be to the multiple businesses and services that are provided in the Food Lion.
I think that's a great entrance, and I don't know if fire and rescue would take a secondary means of access through the Walgreens site. My concern is just the location of that entrance. I don't at that's the second entrance. So I'm all for consolidating entrances and reducing them. But that's an issue. I'm sure VDOT will look at it, whether there's any site distance concerns. So.
Yes, and then you had a question about the proffer language for affordable housing. That was reviewed by our housing policy administrator. She had some, I guess, recommended changes for that proffer language to be more in line with ways that we can administer it easily as the county. And then she's also provided some information to the applicant about what the changes that are being made to the policy, and that will probably go to the board before this particular application does, in which case it would need to kind of alignment would be something that we were looking for. And then your last question or last couple questions were about the overlay zoning district. Yes, this will be our entrance corridor areas according to that overlay district. It will be reviewed by ARB, and they've commented on the proposal already. In terms of our airport impact area overlay, most of what I've seen associated with that overlay is height requirement or limitation, if you will. I think there are some other aspects of it, but the one that comes to mind first is primarily height.
And then Steve Cameron had his hand up as well.
Yes. Ashley, I'm sorry, I've heard two things tonight. One I heard was that you had 74 total units, and then I heard 100 units. Which one is it? I mean,
So Steve, that's a great question, and sorry that I was confusing when I was talking about that. So when we submitted our rezoning to the county, that gives you the upper limits of what we would be allowed to do with the property. So the upper limits of this property would be right around 100 units. But as we're laying it out, what I was saying is that the capacity of the property, given the unit type that we're interested in, is really about 74 units total for the property. So I was just trying to give you a more specific number of where our designs are landing.
okay, all right. Second question, very quick. You're not asking for any waivers, are you, from the 29 Places master plan?
Not that I'm aware of, but Mariah would probably have more information on that.
Right. So the master plan itself would not, waivers is kind of language that's really more associated with a site plan, because that's, you get a waiver from the zoning ordinance. You are either consistent or not consistent with a master plan. So
Okay.
Staff's report to the planning commission and board would be along the lines of outlining where the proposal is consistent and where it's not consistent.
Okay, so then Mariah, is the Maplewood project as designed consistent or non-consistent with the Places 29 master plan?
There are aspects that are and some that aren't, based on the materials that were submitted to us initially for review. We have not received, we just sent them comments on that proposal on Monday. So they haven't gotten a chance to address those comments if they want to. So the answer is short, in a short version, is yes and no. But it could be made more consistent, is what staff's final comment was.
Okay, so they're not asking for waivers at this particular time.
Correct. They
And-
would not be able to ask for waivers at this time, though.
And there may be waivers to come in the future. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Okay, all right. All right, thanks.
Tony's hand is up.
Tony, I believe you're next. Tony, did you still have a question or a comment?
I don't have a question or a comment.
Okay. And Karen, did you have another?
Just one thing I wanted to say. I think what Steve was trying to ask is, are there any, I guess you call them, there would be a special exception. I think he was trying to figure out if there was a special exception to allow a height increase over what the comprehensive plan says. I have a general comment about all of these applications, and that is all of the higher density ones. The zoning district is different from the comprehensive plan. The zoning district allows, the PRD anywhere from 6 to 34 units the acre. The range is there, and the comprehensive comprehensive plan language is there to try to determine kind of what the applicant said is that what can the site accommodate? What's the most appropriate mix for the community given the uses around it? So just because the comprehensive plan or the zoning ordinance has that upper limit doesn't mean that that's automatically the limit that is most appropriate for any given site. And I think that's where the CAC comes in, and where as these plans are revised to the future, maybe there needs to be more language. When this county comprehensive plan was adopted, remember there was a lot more latitude with the proffer system, and allowed local governments to kind of lay out the types of amenities and things like that that were anticipated for reaching, higher levels of density, or proffers for necessary items like affordable housing. The revisions to the proffer system since I think about 2016, 2017 have limited local governments. I don't want to say horse trading, but honestly, if you ask someone in the General Assembly, that's what it was like. And so there are many fewer things that can be anticipated with residential development these days in terms of what overall contributions might be to communities, I think, or community amenities. Like, I know at one time on the site, the plan showed a green dot for some sort of civic facility. I'm not clear what that is exactly, but anyway, I'm just saying this for the benefit of the committee and any citizens who may be listening. That is a range that is there for the community, the planning commission, and the board of supervisors and the developers, to work together and to figure out what's appropriate at any given parcel and any given community. So that was my 4 cents worth.
I don't see that we have any more questions, Mariah.
Okay. Karen, just to respond in a small way, thank you for kind of providing more of a broad brush for that. It's always helpful to have more information and kind of unpack all of the coded language that we might have sometimes. And also for your comment about special waivers versus exceptions. It's a good point. There are special exceptions that are available in this kind of phase of the process. Special exceptions are basically waivers or modifications that need board approval. So what we see typically done is that applicants that know they're going to need a modification in some way that needs board approval will have the board act on everything at one time versus going through multiple rounds, if you will, and fragmenting up the review of what is essentially one proposal. So there are some aspects where this application has asked for, or maybe asking for special exceptions. I think if there is a resubmittal, that might be, the modifications that are being requested might look different. There are some modifications that were requested in their initial materials that are not allowable. For example, the height that you mentioned, that would be one specifically that I don't think staff would be able to support, because the height of 5 stories is neither consistent with the zoning ordinance or the master plan. So that would be a tough one for the applicant to have approved.
And Mariah, just to comment on that, the buildings proposed are 4 stories, so there's no height issue.
Okay.
I just wanted to note that Janelle had to leave the meeting. So in case we had some dead space there, I'm going to pick up for her and move us along through the meeting. So I did want to just offer, if anyone who's listening as a member of the public, use the raise hand tool if you have a question or comment. And if anyone else on the CAC side has something to say before Mariah and Ashley and Scott head out. Great. I'm not seeing anyone. Mariah, can you just put up the slide with your email address just for a quick reminder for folks?
Let me get to it.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
Oh, that's
Thanks, Mariah. That's great. All right. That'll be great for the recording of the meeting. I think we can move along. The next item that Bill McLaughlin had asked to add to the agenda was a discussion of RST residences, and wanted to see if a CAC member would be willing to facilitate that since our chair and vice chair are not present. Erin, I see your hands up. Go ahead.
Michaela probably already knows this, but I want to do it now. I need to recuse myself from this discussion, so I'm going to be muting myself and turning off the camera. I think I said something the very first time RST came up. I had no idea this would be coming back to the committee and there was any discussion of a vote, but my husband's, who is also a planner, did some work his planning firm did for the Forest Lakes HOA. So I checked with the county attorney to figure out if there was any conflict of interest there. And he's advised me it's better that I not take any position on this application or talk about it anymore. So I'm going to excuse myself from any discussion on this. So I just want to let you guys know why I'm dropping out. So.
Well, we will miss you, Karen. Thank you.
It'll be a much shorter meeting. So.
And Michaela, I would be happy to, as the secretary, I guess third in line, to kind of facilitate discussion unless someone with more seniority would like to, Tony or Jimmy or Virginia.
Sue, I would think you'd do a great job.
Ah, thank you. Well, we'll find out, won't we? We all got the suggested comments from Bill, true? And had a chance to hopefully look at those. I looked at them today. Michaela, is it possible to put those on the screen?
Sure, I can do that. I will just need a moment to.
Okay.
I'll do that.
And while she's doing that, are there any particular issues that people want to make sure we address in the next 21 minutes?
Yes, I can raise my hand.
What, Steve?
Yes, I've raised my hand, so whenever we get in line.
Okay, go right ahead. While we wait on Michaela, that's fine.
I guess my concern with this RST development is that when we're trying to be consistent with Brook Hill, I don't understand the reason for the 5-story waiver or the necessity for that. This particular, looking at the topography, this is a higher portion of ground. It's going to be higher, 4 stories. The density is still the same. And then when we look around, Brook Hill certainly would have wanted to go to 5 stories if they could. I guess I don't see a need to grant a waiver for 5 stories anywhere on that. That's my one comment, really. No.
Thank you. And I do believe that is clearly identified in the comments that we now see before us. And I think I'm just going to go, Tony, comments you have.
So when I responded to Bill, I have 3 concerns about this development. First of all, the traffic.
Yep.
Second of all, a transportation site so that if there's ever public transportation, that there would be some place where people could get on and off of public transportation. And then lastly, the schools, which I think the Planning Commission or the Board of Supervisors rely on the school district projections for, what's going to happen in the future. concerning the school population. I have no problem limiting the 5 stories, but I do want to say this with really no criticism. It's just an observation. Along a continuum, if the county has said for a number of years that affordable housing is to be important relative to planning, then there has to be a moving along of a continuum from lower density to higher density, or there just won't be developers willing to put up the millions and millions of dollars to do this. I don't mean to be caustic, but there has to be, along that same continuum, a moving away from NIMBY to YIMBY, not in my backyard, to yes in my backyard. How far along that continuum we need to go, that's, you know, that's to be discussed. That's for the planning commission. That's for the board. So those are my only comments. And I really don't mean to be caustic or, and also I did point out to Bill that to send this off, although Bill didn't specifically mention consensus, if you were to read this, and if it was to be sent under the imprimatur of the CAC, it would seem like a consensus document of the CAC. And as this document is written, I couldn't support it. So those are just my feelings. And I've stated them. And
Tony, you can't support it because it doesn't align with what your outcome desires would be?
Well, what I'm saying is, and I pointed this out to Bill on the first, when he asked for our comments, was I was taken by B mentioning twice in previous meetings that half of the affordable housing for purchase was implemented over a 10-year period. Is that correct, B?
I think it's less than half.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
actually 44 units over 10 years.
Okay.
And while I have
There
a
were
mic,
90 some odd. There were
Right.
90 something. Yeah. Okay.
right,
So
and-
then I asked Stacy Plethia of the county staff, and she did the researching. There were 255 or 250 some odd apartments for affordable housing that were offered. Every single one of those was rented according to the affordable housing guidelines of the county. Now, clearly, there is a need for affordable apartments. Now, we can debate whether it's, you know, it's too expensive for people who earn $15 an hour, but just under the guidelines, every single affordable apartment was rented. Now, we have to pay attention to that because there is a definite need. And I don't think developers would be wanting to spend millions of dollars if there was no need for apartments in Albemarle County. And one last thing, and then I'll be quiet. There is a reluctance on the part of the county to move higher density out into rural areas, where really the only people that would care about that are few and far between. But that's another option, if indeed that's the only way to get more affordable units for consumption.
Yeah.
So I'm done. I've probably spoken too long.
No, thank you, Tony. And I'm going to go just to Jimmy next, and then I'll go to Virginia. I think we all need to have an opportunity. So Jimmy?
Yes, I have a couple of things. As some of you know, I live across the road from Baker Butler School. And Tuesday, I had the opportunity to walk over there and vote. I hope all of you did somewhere too. I was surprised to see when I walked down the hill that there is a temporary classroom that's probably about 60, 70 feet square, built on an athletic field at the end of the I guess we'd call it the north end of the building. I just wonder, is the county looking out for the school system and these? I mean, it's overcrowded now. And here we're talking about building how many units right behind on Worth Crossing. As Casey Stengel used to say, don't nobody here know how to play this game. We are continually playing catch up with the schools. And I could tell you an interesting story about the land that the county purchased for Baker Butler School, but it wouldn't be very complimentary. But it just seems like we're looking for development. We're looking for development, and all of a sudden we have nowhere to put the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Virginia?
I don't think I have anything to add. I think everybody's pretty much covered the issues that I have with it. The only thing I will say is on all of these projects, it's really nice to have these developments go in and have the commercial, but we've complained so much about the traffic. We haven't really addressed anything to do with walkability. I know that the path going down 29 is, absolutely fabulous. You can get everywhere, but it'd be nice to cross the street more than one place. The one crosswalk between, Rio Road, where Rio Road crosses, and up here at Hollymead is not enough. If we're developing, along Berkmar now. And it'd be nice, for these businesses to get some foot traffic so we don't have to get in our cars to cross the street. But that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just say real briefly, I absolutely agree that 5 stories is too tall. And we just heard a comment about the development just before this not being approved for 5 stories, and they're staying at 4. And then my second comment is, if this developer is willing to offer 75% of affordable housing rental units, perhaps we need to start making other developers consider more than 15%, rather than get all of our affordable rental units out of this one developer. Start saying, look what RST was able to do, so what can you do? Because you've got a whole series of developments in the pipeline. You just heard 2 more tonight. So, maybe there's a way to use this as both a precedent and a little bit of leverage for other units, because obviously if we don't approve the 5 stories, their density will go down, I would imagine, for RST. So B or anyone, Corey, did you want to make any comments?
Yes, I'd like to address a few of the things. I have some information. And
Okay.
The latest one, when you said, well, if they can't go 5-story, their density might go down. That could be true, or they could increase the number of buildings, 4-story, 3-story buildings. Remember, they took out 2
Right.
buildings. So
Right.
they could put that back theoretically. So I'm not going one way or the other. I'm just presenting things. And I did want to let Tony know that the RST, there are 3 projected transit stops for the RST development, one on 29, one on Ashwood, and one inside the actual development. And I wanted, let's see, I just heard from, I know if it's a field, but we did buy a temporary, okay, yes, and you're right. And Jimmy, you're right. They did buy a temporary classroom for Baker Butler. The school district, we constantly ask them, they're the ones that let us know if they need more schools. And we are looking at, we do have a site at Brook Hill. There's a site for elementary school at Brook Hill. We're also looking at enlarging Albemarle High School by moving, perhaps, this is hopefully we can do this, but maybe moving the Lambs Road, Lambs Lane, the bus depot there, moving it to a different location that the county owns, and enlarging Albemarle High School. But we do rely on the schools. I will tell you that the school district, they're implementing in-person classrooms starting in the fall, but they're also implementing a program whereby you can study virtually for another year. And whether or not it's longer or not, I don't know, but you can do that. They are asking parents whether or not they want to have their children study virtually. So that's going to affect the on-site school attendance. To address, I think was Virginia's concern about walkability. That's something that the county, we look at all the time. And that's why we ask for connectivity between developments. We ask for sidewalks so that people can walk around. So we do have that connectivity. So I just wanted to address those issues for you all, since I had the answers.
Thank you so much. And Corey, anything on the development? And I will leave a few minutes for the liaison updates.
Sue, I don't have anything to add. I'm just listening to the conversation. Thank you.
Okay, great. Now, Michaela, I have to ask a procedural question. Does the CAC not vote, but do we send forward to the Planning Commission a point of view on this development? What's the process?
That is up to the CAC. I have seen some CACs not do that at all. I've seen some do it on occasion. Some CACs will write something up, such as what you have, make a motion on it, and send to the Planning Commission or the board with that noted. It's up to your discretion as a group how you'd want to share comments, if you want to share them with the Planning Commission and the board.
Okay. So I've already heard Tony say that he wouldn't want to move forward this document that we're looking at. Jimmy, what do you think?
In listening to friends around who would be directly affected by this, I'm not sure I could support it either on their behalf.
You're talking about supporting this document or supporting the development?
Supporting the development.
Okay. Okay. Tony, would you support the development with some of the changes we've talked about, the traffic, the schools, the height?
I don't have a problem with limiting the height, getting the height down.
Right.
But this document, as you read it, clearly is doesn't really show a lot of favorability
Right.
toward this project.
Oh, no, I
But
think
I
you
have
can
no
say that.
problem limiting those 5 stories. I have no problem with that.
Okay. So we might have a consensus. I believe there are 4 of us still on the call. Am I right, Michaela?
You have
Or
5.
5.
Tony, Steve, Jimmy, yourself, and
Yes,
Virginia.
I should count myself. So it seems we all have some agreement around the height. And several of us talked about school crowding concerns and then traffic.
Right.
So would those 3 issues be, and then I think the walkability and connectivity is another issue that was brought up. Would those be the issues that we would want to express concern to the Planning Commission about so that they can address those in the proposal?
Well, relative to walkability, from RST, where are we talking about that there isn't lack of walkability? Because you can walk out to 29, you can walk up to Hollymead, and you can cross the street there. You can cross 29 at North Hollymead. You can walk, I don't know if there's sidewalks. You can walk to Ashwood. I don't know if there's a sidewalk planned for that drive, you know, that would connect RST.
Right, Archer Drive.
Oh.
Good question. I don't know if there's a sidewalk planned along Archer Drive.
So I don't know about that. If that's a concern, I wouldn't have a problem adding that to the list of concerns. Other than that, I don't know where you'd want to walk. I don't think people in Forest Lake would want sidewalks into Forest Lakes from RST, like is it Ashland or whatever?
Yeah, Ashwood.
No, not Ashwood, the development.
Yeah. Ashland.
Ashland, right. I don't know that people would want sidewalks going into Ashland.
No. Currently, the trails, the paved trails in Forest Lakes do not extend up to what would be Archer Boulevard. So there would not be a connection.
Okay. I don't know if that's important.
Yeah. So it sounds like that we would want to encourage the Planning Commission to not accept 5-story buildings and to factor in schools and traffic. Is that
Yes.
Yes,
kind
ma'am.
of our agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and so then Michaela, do we need to write something up or do we just tell you that?
You do not need to do anything. This is, well, this meeting is recorded. The minute we're taking, the Commissioner Claiborne and Supervisor Lepisto Kirtley are here. If you would like to write something up and send it to the Planning Commission, there is an email address that I can provide you all. That's an option. I believe your representatives are here listening as well. So there's no obligation is what I mean to say. These are all comments that can be heard through the public hearings in various ways.
Okay. Okay, unless there's any final comments, I'll move to the last item on the agenda. Almost on time. And Corey, any updates from the Planning Commission?
So no updates for this particular region, but I just want to say thank you guys for that conversation. It was very helpful to be able to listen to those concerns and document those. So thank you for allowing me to participate.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And so we'll close. We leave the best for the last, B. Updates
Well,
you'd like to share?
Yeah, the best for the last. That person left, but anyway, I'm here to say something. I just wanted to let you all know that even though if you don't agree with the document that that was written up, I mean, Bill can send it not on behalf of the CAC if it's not an
Right.
agreement, but he can send it, take off the top part and just send
Right.
it from him. Just like all of you can send in your comments and what you feel is important or not important, but how you feel about the development. And frankly, for anything, you can always, and you can say, I'm a member of the Pantop CAC. This is the way I feel. So there's no problem doing that at all, ever.
Okay.
And
That's
no
great.
other updates. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, the agenda is finished unless there's any other business that somebody'd like to bring up.
I just would like to say this. I thought you did a very good job, just like I predicted.
Oh, well, thank you, Tony. And I will send you that reward that I offered soon for your
Okay.
kind comments. Haha. Okay. And Michaela, anything else we need to do?
I can share verbally, but I'm happy to email it, that the email address for the Planning Commission is planningcommission@albemarle.org. So if you do want to type up your own comments, that as was suggested, that's an option.
So I had already sent my comments to the Planning Commission.
Excellent. Proactive. Thank you. It's very good.
I just had a quick question. Is the next meeting, it didn't say anything, is it supposed to be a Zoom meeting or is it in person? If we have it.
Thank you for bringing that up, actually. So it will be virtual. Things will be virtual until I receive guidance otherwise. So for the foreseeable future, and actually most of the CACs are canceling July due to summer vacation plans and having people out of town. So that's an option for you all if you would like to just meet again in August.
Any thoughts on that? We can take a straw vote here and then check in with everybody. Michaela can check in with everyone else. It would be July 8th, Thursday, July 8th. So it is the week of the quote holiday because Monday the 5th is the observed holiday.
Well, I leave the next day for vacation, so I can make the 8th meeting.
I can make it.
Oh, Jimmy?
I'd say no.
Okay. Steve, any preference on a July 8th meeting? While Steve's turning his microphone on, Karen, July 8th meeting?
I can do that. Thank you.
Okay. And Steve, how does that look for you, July 8th?
July 8th, I can be there if it's virtual.
Okay.
Or in person. But beyond that, I'm going to be basically virtual through October.
Okay. So we have 4 okay with the 8th and 1 not available. So that gives us some guidance. Okay, Michaela? If
What about,
do we need
what
a
about you,
motion?
Sue?
I could make it.
Okay.
Yes. Being virtual, even if I'm gone, which I won't be, I could make it. So I counted myself in the 4.
This time we do not have any community meetings or development applications that would be at that meeting. So if that, while you all can make it, know that there's nothing that time sensitive that I've heard about the agenda.
Okay. Do we need a motion to adjourn?
No, that's okay. You can just
Okay.
state that it's adjourned.
Last call for any final thoughts or comments? Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right.
Bye.
What's left?
Thank you.
Good evening.
Yep. Thank you.
Evening.